Hello and welcome to another vlog on Disney on Travelling Coffee Cup. Today's vlog is about an event that took place on May the 1st, 1994 and took place at the Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari, otherwise known as the Imola Grand Prix track, which hosted the San Marino Grand Prix, even though the track is actually in Italy. The day before, on the 30th of April, the Austrian driver Roland Ratzenberger had crashed his F1 car and had sadly died. Ayrton Senna's close friend and F1 doctor Sid Watkins implored Ayrton Senna to retire and said they'd go fishing together because that was a passion they both shared. Ayrton Senna said, "No, I want to continue racing. That's what I was born to do. That's what I'm going to do." The morning of the 1st of May 1994, Ayrton Senna spoke to his greatest adversary in Formula One, Alain Prost. The exact conversation isn't known, but it was about a conversation to restart a Formula One Drivers' Committee Association. Which happened. There was one restarted, but Ayrton wasn't around to see it. So, the day before, Ayrton Senna qualified on pole. Alongside him, in a Benetton, was the most successful Formula One driver ever, Michael Schumacher, who went on to win 7 world titles, recently equalled by Sir Lewis Hamilton. So, on lap 1, there is a crash at the start. A wheel from a car goes into the crowd and injures 7 civilians. Now, in modern F1, we have a McLaren Mercedes safety car along with an Aston Martin car. Back then, they had an Opel Vectra. This crash happens, they get bunched up behind the safety car, which in 1994 was an Opel Vectra, whereas the safety cars of the 2021 season is an AMG Mercedes-Benz and an Aston Martin Vantage. Not what I'd call slow, whereas an Opel Vectra in 1994, even beyond 1994 standards, was slow. And the cars get bunched up behind this car, and it goes round the track. A track I've probably done hundreds of times on computer games. And at the end of lap 5, the Vectra pulls in. Now, being behind this Vectra, the tyre temperatures and the brake temperatures have gone down, of which there had been complaints previously about how slow this car was. But at the start of lap 6, Ayrton Senna guns it. He goes flying across the line and does a full lap in one of the fastest times of that race weekend. He enters lap 7. Now, on the Imola track, the first con you get to is Tamburello, which until recently was a curved left-hander which took you up to the Villeneuve corners. Now, Ayrton Senna knows that this corner is a full-on left-hander. He knows exactly where to hit that apex and take that car round. What he's seen from Michael Schumacher's cockpit cam looking forward is Ayrton Senna's car going straight. The car doesn't turn left. It doesn't even attempt to turn left. Ayrton Senna knows it's a left turn, so why is it not going left? There's been conjecture that maybe the steering arm broke, the tyres didn't turn, number of things. Ayrton Senna's going towards a concrete wall, unlike now where you look at F1 tracks and you'll see several rows of tyres, or similar to one of the barriers that Romain Grosjean crashed into last season. But no, this is a concrete wall. And Ayrton Senna's going into it like that. So he's going into it, wall, car. He slams into it at a 45-degree angle. The right front tyre, steering arm, hits Ayrton Senna on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side of his face. That impact makes him hit the headrest. Those two impacts, as well as the one that's made him hit the wall, are quite violent. What the TV pictures see is him hitting the wall and coming back onto the track, where his car comes to rest in the middle of the track between Tamburello and Villeneuve. Now, the race is stopped, obviously. And Sid Watkins has to go and see his friend, the very person he said to this morning, "Why don't you retire? We'll go fishing." Instead, he's having to go to the crash site of his friend and hope he's alive. I think the whole F1 grid and the world was hoping he was going to survive that. They pull him out of his car. Sid Watkins does a medical check of Ayrton Senna. Ayrton Senna's not responsive. Ayrton Senna's out, cold. Sid Watkins looks at his eyes, looks at everything and thinks he's not going to survive. In fact, it's that bad, he orders him to be airlifted to hospital. And we all remember seeing the helicopter on the track and Senna being put in the back of it and airlifted to a Bolognian hospital. F1 and the world holds its breath. Is he going to survive? Around 4 hours later, the hospital he's been taken to release a statement. Ayrton Senna has died. Due to Italian law, they've put the time of death as to when he's impacted the wall and not when he's in the hospital, because he'd lost that much blood and he was that badly bashed around in the accident that his brain had stopped working. And the F1 world, at the F1 grid and the world went into a state of shock. And Brazil held days of national mourning. The whole country stopped. Now, I know when world leaders die, that country holds several days of mourning. And Senna was a racing driver. To most countries, he was a racing driver. To Brazil, he was like a god. He was worshipped like a god. And they watched him die on a racetrack. His funeral is attended by Alain Prost, his most bitter adversary on the track. I think we all remember the Suzuka crash where they hit each other. But Ayrton and Alain put it to rest. Alain, that didn't matter anymore. His bitterest rival was no longer here. And the F1 grid had lost one of its greatest ever drivers. The aftermath of that crash is still felt to this day. and it's felt mostly by the current reigning and defending F1 world champion, Sir Lewis Hamilton. Because when he was racing for McLaren, he had a yellow helmet, just like Ayrton Senna's helmet. And racing drivers back in the day used to say, you saw that yellow helmet on a Saturday qualifying, you got out of the way. You did not want to be the person to ruin that quality lap. You go onto YouTube now and you watch some of the videos of Ayrton Senna driving, and you just think, he's doing that in one of those. Imagine what he's doing in the current ones. And sadly, I was too young. I was not even 2 when he died. And I never got to saw him race. I've only seen YouTube clips and videos and tributes on most TV channels. But he's not forgotten at Imola, the site of that horrendous crash that was changed to the track. Tamburello is no longer the fearsome left-hander it was. It's now basically a chicane. It's a couple of corners are strewn together. Track design has changed from there. You know, a track that has survived time itself, being Formula One Monaco. I reckon now, if you went to someone now and said, shall we build a track like Monaco? You'd probably get told no. But track design now has changed because of that crash. So if you think about it, if you take out a very fast left-hand corner or a very fast right-hand corner, the chances of it potentially happening again are lower than what they were. And up until 2014, all the safety changes worked. Until another fateful crash, which, given how young the driver was, I think hurt F1. But Ayrton Senna's crash mortally scarred it. And at Imola, you can go and see for yourself, there is a memorial to Ayrton Senna to this day at Tamburello Corner with a Brazilian flag and flowers. Bear in mind, this happened 27 years ago, and it is still felt now. It just gives you the scale of how important Ayrton Senna was, and he'll never be forgotten. Personally, best F1 drivers: Prost, Senna, Schumacher, Hamilton, Lauda. They're some of the greatest F1 drivers ever. But Senna beats up the other 4. Hands down. Ayrton Senna was, personally, the greatest F1 driver the world's ever known. And hopefully, F1 will never have to experience another loss like that again. But that'll conclude today's vlog. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, comment and subscribe, as it really does help the channel, and I'll see you all in the next one.